I'm pretty bummed out. Just finished up here at Lake Ouachita, and I told myself I wasn't going to bomb an event this year, and I bombed this one. I finished 112th place, and it was a weird deal. I mean, this lake is really clear, post-spawn conditions. The lake's flooded. It was really high. It was 3 or 4 foot high, a lot of water up in the bushes, and there was still a lot of fish shallow in the bushes. And I kind of got confused because I went into some of the creek arms and I was catching fish mostly on a frog up in the bushes. And it seemed like, you could get some pretty good bites doing that. These fish were kind of wolf packing bluegill, and they just run along into these pockets and along islands, and they'd go in little wolf packs and they'd chase bluegill, and there'd be some good ones in there, 3 and 4 pounders. And, I had a decent practice where I felt like I could catch, 11 to 14 pounds if everything went right. So that usually scares me whenever you get into a situation where you have a good practice. Sometimes you get too dialed in to what you were doing in practice, and you don't really fish the moment. And I think that's what hurt me. The first day of the tournament, I went into a creek where I was getting bites on the frog, and I ended up catching, I think, about 8, 9 was my limit. So I was way back in this creek, and it was, it was a good area, I thought. And in fact, one of the guys, I think Kyle Mabry, was in there, and he ended up catching like 11 pounds a day and had a really good tournament. So, but he was flipping the bushes rather than throwing top water in them. This was the little frog, a little snag-proof frog. It's a really nice little frog, but I'd work this thing kind of real fast and rip it through and over top of bushes, and they just come up and engulf it. They seem to bite better in the mornings, too. It seemed like the first couple hours of the morning, it was a good bite. I mean, you could still catch them all day long on top water, but it would just get more sporadic. So I got so dialed into this creek, and I went back the second day, and I scrambled. I got like 1 or 2 keepers early in the morning, and then that was it. And I fished the whole creek. I had a backup pattern where I was throwing a drop shot out on some deep humps, and I could catch, in practice, I catch a couple 2-pounders here or there, so I thought I had some decent fish to be caught there. And I catch some spotted bass that were like 1.5 pounds, just keepers, and that was kind of my bailout deal. I didn't really think it was a deal that I could do real well in, but it would certainly give me a couple keepers. What I did out there was I threw a drop shot, and I used a 4.8 Jackal flick shake, and I just would either rig it wacky style or nose hook it, and just look for the fish on my depth finder and then drop down to them. And that's how I caught some small fish that way. But I got dialed into this thing, and ended up going back the second day in that creek, and I got burned, and I had to go back out, and I caught some small fish out deep. Had a couple fish die on me, so I really was going in the wrong direction. And the last day, I knew that I needed to change up completely and do something different in order to try to get back in this thing and get some points, because I was like in 100th place and 110th place, and like I need to get at least a top 75 out of this deal. So on the last day, I ended up heading out into the main lake, and I tried to do the same thing. I fished the frog around some of the bushes around flooded islands that were a little bit closer out to the main lake. And my co-angler, as I got caught up on a bush, and I got up next to the bush, and next thing you know, a wolf pack of like 4-pounders came flying by, and this is about 10 o'clock, and kind of keyed me into what was going on. And then he throws out a topwater bait, and one of the 4-pounders jumps out of the wolf pack and grabs it, and then he catches a 4-pounder. So I'm thinking, okay, so let's just stick to topwater. And I ended up throwing topwater the rest of the day, and I just couldn't hook them up. I don't know what the deal was. They were just coming up, and they'd either hit the bait, they'd knock it, they'd miss it, or they'd get one hook in them. And it was one of those deals where just everything went wrong. And I didn't land any of those fish. I could have had a nice bag the last day. I might have had 15 or 16 pounds, but that's fishing. It just didn't work out. But I felt like I made a good decision to kind of change up what I was doing, leave the creeks, go out into the main lake, and look for these fish that were kind of finished spawning, that were coming out of the pockets, the short pockets off the main lake. They were getting around the islands. They were feeding on bluegill. They were aggressive, and that's what I should have been doing the whole tournament. And that's how the tournament was won, was top water, and just everything going right for the guy who won the tournament. So, it is what it is. It's a bad finish. I hope it doesn't kill my chances to make the Cup. I'm certainly not gonna let it get to me. We go to Gunnersville. It's a big fish lake. I'm excited about that. Haven't fished there a whole lot, but I know from what I've heard and from what I've seen, it's a pretty incredible place. And we'll see where I fall on the points. Hopefully I don't fall out of it too bad, but I know that's a place I can make up some ground and still make a run at this thing. So I'm going to keep a positive mind, and we'll go from there.